We're on. Hello, everyone. We're broadcasting tonight from Florida in the villages. We're down here now for the winter, and it's a wonderful energy and beautiful out. All sunny day today, so we're having a lot of nice energy around this. Day after we left up there in Lilydale, we had 10 inches of snow. So we're happy to get down here and not have all that going on and have to shovel it. Welcome. I'd like to talk tonight about dreams. And I was thinking about dreams. In fact, I had a dream just a short time ago that was very short, but very clear. You could feel and smell and touch, and, everything was there. And when we're dreaming things, sometimes we get frustrated over not remembering dreams. And if we open ourselves to the idea that we can remember them more and have more awareness of them, and certainly in our conscious mind, we can put out the thought that as we go to bed at night, we send out that intent and energy that we're asking Spirit to help us remember in our conscious mind when we awake in the morning and allow ourselves to have that dream come through. And the next step would be to recognize the fact that we need to recognize in ourselves that remembering all of it or understanding all of it sometimes really doesn't matter that much. At another level, we do understand it. At another level, it does come through to us, and we're going to recognize what it means. Everything is a language, and if we allow ourselves to relax with the idea of following through with what we're feeling in the dreams, sometimes we'll feel answers or guidance, throughout the dream, or the dream will have symbols that'll really be meaningful to us. And as we take time to look at that and realize well, that's what's happening, sometimes I've had dreams where it wasn't really, quote, a message, but it was an experience. And the experience being that you were there in such reality that you were feeling and seeing and sensing and touching. And I mean, I had a dream, I think it was last night, that for some reason, and I don't know what the message is yet, there was a fish swimming in the water beside me in a canoe. I was sitting in a canoe. And as it was swimming by, there was a bobber hook to it. And it was pulling a bobber up and down, but it couldn't get free from it. And I reached over and took the line and pulled the line up and unhooked the fish and let the fish go. But I could feel every movement. I could feel every energy, the water, everything. And when I freed the fish, I felt very at peace with the energy. Now, to me, it was a peaceful energy and it was a wonderful energy to experience. But to look at it as a message, what message did it mean? And as we learn to remember our dreams and actually have them in a conscious level when we wake up, it'll keep coming to us stronger. And some dreams we're going to have is not a dream where you necessarily have all the feelings and awarenesses of everything there. You just may have a dream that's, I refer to it as very generic. And those are all right. But it's something that as we remember them more and we start to be aware of them, we then can step into the next level of what would be lucid dreaming. And in lucid dreaming, we're taking charge of the dreams. We're choosing the program of the dream, the outcome of the dream. We're literally manifesting and creating a future energy because we're creating a balance in the dream. Like you're having a dream, and the dream would be showing you that someone's chasing you and you have a fear. And to recognize the fear is unneeded and that we can then turn and stand our ground in the dream and be able to be successful in that. And it's something that as we understand lucid dreaming more, we can do that. That's like, I know people refer to it as daydreaming during the day, that things will just pop in their mind. Well, I would say that's really close to lucid dreaming. And it's at times we're not in control of it. We're not even aware of how to control it. But as we relax more and understand it, it'll keep coming through. Sometimes it isn't the message, it's the experience. And allowing ourselves to experience the dream and just literally experience it, I know at times I've been a little taken back by some of the dreams I would have, where I look at the dream and think, my God, what did that really mean? What's the message in it? Well, there's times it's not always a message, it's an experience. The more we do that, the closer we become with spirit, the closer we become in utilizing our mediumship, and the closer we become with spirit helping us all the time. And as it shifts from just a dream level to a lucid dream level, there's times if I'm in a meditative state, if I meditate for a period of time, I sometimes just want to doze off. And as I'm doing that, I really feel that I get into what would be a lucid dreaming level at times. And I'm there, and the reality of the dreams or the visions I would see would be so clear and very powerful. And it's something that I'm sure every one of us has had that happen to some extent. And to learn to relax and allow it, and what I refer to as allowing it, sometimes we try to concentrate on things, and the more concentration we have on it, it pushes away what we really want or what we really want to be involved in. And we're needing to recognize that when we start using a forcefulness, we're then actually pushing things away instead of drawing them in. If we can do what we're doing in a meditative manner and just create that quiet space to be in, to allow it to flow through us, allow it to come to us, it's going to expand and keep expanding. There's times in my life I've had dreams where they were so vivid that every sense you're aware of, smelling, feeling, touching, everything. And I've had that occur where they've happened in life. I had an experience one time where I dreamt about a possible accident and a vehicle coming at me from the left-hand side. And as I was driving along in a conscious world, I was driving along, recognized that the surroundings was what was in my dream. And as I recognized that, I reacted to it and I swung off the road into a abandoned gas station. And the vehicle come flying out onto the highway past me, and I didn't get hit. But if I would have been driving along unaware, I would have definitely had a severe accident. And I know Spirit took care of that in the dream because they were showing me in such detail the exact experience, even the smells and the movements of all the vehicles and everything. So it's something that I look at that at times and I realize we are all protected and we are guided, and we're just needing to be aware of the idea of allowing ourselves to pick up on it. I've said this before in other classes. We need to recognize that we need to ask Spirit to guide us and help us, because what we're doing is giving them permission to work with us. They respect our free will. And in the midst of them respecting our free will, we need to recognize that if we're not asking for the help, they're respecting the fact that wherever we are and whatever we're thinking and whatever way we're thinking is what they respect, and they allow us to do that. It'd be unfair for them to step in and to take on the idea of telling us things that we're not willing to be open to, and they respect that free will. And we're needing to relax with the idea of allowing it to come through. I've had things happen in lucid dreaming where I would see outcomes and I felt the outcomes and my desire was there, and the outcomes have occurred. And I find that, we're all creators, and whether we're doing it in a conscious basis of creating and working hard at things in a conscious world, or whether we're reaching out on a spiritual level and allowing ourselves to tap in that form, it's something that we're needing to understand and recognize more. The world's going through quite a crazy energy at times. I know that a lot of people are feeling it. I've had a few people that are nurses and psychologists that I work with and read for, and the stress energy has been increasing in many ways. And a few of them have commented the idea that it's getting worse and not better. And I look at it in this form: there's so many people on edge and not willing to, or even understanding how, for example, to tap into their calmness and their quietness and their meditation. Excuse me. And we're needing to recognize this, that the world is going through these changes. And emotionally, each one of us has more stress and things around us bothering us. And I look at that and realize that we have to step back and allow ourselves to be in that calmness. And I don't know how many of you would be remembering dreams or have dreams come through in a way that you would be very conscious of, but it's certainly there and available to us. I honestly don't remember all my dreams. I know I dream a lot of times, but I don't remember all the dreams. And we just need to be aware of putting out that thought of intent that we do remember and keep at it, because then it'll gradually work its way through that we'll start remembering more. And we certainly will recognize that it's going to make a big difference to us. You know, I look at the world going on, and I don't want to get into anything political here, but I'm seeing people that are worried about the United States. They're worried about the planet. They're worried about nature. They're worried about all the natural things that are occurring. And I see the stress with people when I'm reading for them. I find that it's been very heavy duty for a lot of people because they're taking in the conscious world such a focus over everything going on. And a lot of them don't recognize it as just thinking it or witnessing it, or say, for example, watching the news. What's really happening, they're feeling the energy and the energy changes that are occurring. And we sometimes can be a sponge and we pick up on all this energy that we're needing to be very aware of, not picking up on, recognizing it, yes, but not allow it to be overwhelming to us, because it certainly can be overwhelming at times. You know, I had someone not too long ago that I read for, and they said it seemed like everything in their life was more stressful and more upsetting, and they couldn't deal with all the changes. And I said to him, I said that, you know, it isn't the idea of one change, it's many changes. And I feel that we sometimes pat ourselves or protect ourselves by not wanting to consciously accept or be aware of all the changes that are occurring. And it's something that we just sort of push it away. And I would say, in a meditative manner, let's take time to just encompass those changes, love them for what they are, and look at them as a learning process, and to not look at it with all the emotion involved and the fear involved. I see a lot more fear in the world and people being more fearful in various ways, but to recognize that as something that, I don't know how many, we have a few on the phone and we have a few here on the screen. The ones on the screen, if you want to raise your hands, if you've had dreams that have come true. Okay, good. I find that that happens quite often, and it's something that we may have little tiny glimpses of something. We may not even, let's say, see the whole story in the dream. We just see a little snippet of it, and that we're needing to be aware of it. That if we're already seeing a snippet of it, we're on our way to allowing it to happen more, and it's going to come through even more. And there's a need to relax with the idea of allowing it. You know, I find when I dream, there's times I would wanna dream, and I'd put out the intent and thought that, "Okay, I wanna remember something, please come to me in a way that I may understand," but then it doesn't happen, and I find then other times where I'm just relaxed, and I go to bed and just me be in a relaxed form, it'll come through real clear, you know, like Technicolor. And I find that we're going through a period in our lives right now, and the time on the planet here, of the stress in the world around us is affecting us. And I know some people get into a bit of a panic. I had one gentleman that he was really very uptight, that he was ready to go get all the survival equipment and all the 50-year foods and everything. And he was getting very uptight about things. And I said, you know, I don't feel that as a concern right now. I feel in the future there's going to be some tight times, let's say, but it's in different pockets, different areas of the world, and it's not everywhere for everybody. I've been watching some of the energy change, and I feel the energy like here living in Florida, being down here, we'll be back up in Lloydale first part of May, but we're down here in Florida. And I made a move because I felt that where I was in Estero, Florida, which is just north of Naples, south of Fort Myers, I had a few dreams that were showing me the opportunity of flooding and things happening. And I looked at that and I thought, okay, well, it showed me that. And the one night I had a meditation group at the house, and we're sitting there, about eight of us, we're sitting there and meditated. And two of the people picked up the same thing at the same time and told me that they said, well, it'll be a symbol of you moving when you find the white feather. And here they are at the front door putting their shoes back on, and that later that evening of leaving. And I open the inner door and there's a white feather laying on the mat. And it was just amazing that it's like it came through that quickly. And here it was. It was so close to the door that I would have smashed it by opening the screen door. I had to go out through the garage and go get the feather. And there wasn't a vein on the feather out of line. And it was a beautiful feather. And it's something that was probably 10 inches long. So I look at that at times and I realize that the dreams I had was ahead of having that show up in the physical world. Now, when we have dreams, I believe that we can have dreams that'll depict things that'll happen or in the future, or, really depict some events that could be absolutely what you dream. And I've had that happen and made the move up here to what would be the Villages and Lady Lake area in Florida. It's the middle of the state. And it's very comfortable, 105 feet above sea level, no longer 2 feet above. And it's something I look at that and think how spirit was guiding me, because where I had been living, I felt about literally living there and retiring there. And my conscious, thinking was exactly that. But the dreams I had was showing me gradually that, okay, enjoy it for now. Spirit came through in the one dream and said, enjoy it for now. It's wonderful and beautiful to be there, but only enjoy it for now because it will change. And everything did change. And it's something that we're limited in our conscious thinking to where we're at and what we're thinking about at the moment, instead of having the ability to look so far forward, where spirit can look forward more and give us guidance and show us things that are coming. The area that I had lived in, they came within probably a half inch of flooding the first floor of the homes there. And it's just something that I look at and I know it's a blessing that spirit's guided me and shows me choices that I can make, because we still have all of our free will. It's the idea, do we follow the guidance and trust it, or do we resist things and consciously want to have it our way? And at times we can take on this thought of really forcefully saying, I'm going to do it my way. And we end up in some trouble with that. And when we get into lucid dreaming and we shift to the point, excuse me, we shift to the point of trusting what we're feeling. And when we're conscious, I've had it happen a number of times where on a conscious basis, I'd be in a dozing state or a very incredibly relaxed state, and I'd be gone for a little while. Leslie refers to it, where did you go? Because there's times I go away for a bit and I'll come back. And I know there's times I'll remember things and see things that I feel is part of the guidance. And we're needing to trust that I feel spirit 24/7 is around us to help us, to guide us, to certainly uplift our energies, and to open ourselves to what we're feeling and sensing. Now, I don't know how many of you felt that your mediumship has been increasing, but I feel, looking at the faces I'm seeing on the screen here, I feel like your mediumship and abilities are increasing. And I would say with everyone to some degree here, and that's going to be opening up even more. And to enjoy the physical world and enjoy what's in the physical world and have that positive energy and thought that we're enjoying being here and what we're accomplishing and doing in our lives. I feel that's so important, because if we allow ourselves to get into a fearful state of mind, remember, we can manifest, we can create. And when we're manifesting things, we can manifest some fear and manifest some things that are not so good for us. And we're needing to have that thought in mind that what are we thinking and what are we living on a daily level? My grandmother used to say to me, if we're not living it, it isn't ours. And I find that that's so true that I see people lay claim to things and present things, and then they're not really living it, they're just presenting it. They're good at talking about it or presenting it, but they're not really living it. And we're needing to look at the idea of what we're choosing to live and what focus we're having in that manner. And that makes a huge, huge difference because everything we put out as energy in some form is manifesting. And if we put it out in a confused way or a negative way or a fearful way, what are we manifesting? And I find that when you get to the point of lucid dreaming, I know a lot of people are working on that and focusing on it more, and it's really a gift. And I think it's a wonderful energy because we can create and be creators of what our future would be and our energy in our future. I've seen some people that they live in a crisis energy and the focus would be a very crisis orientated, and then they wonder why it keeps happening on a daily basis. And if we look at that and realize that we are manifesting the energy that supports it, we have to make those changes for ourselves. And as we recognize it more, it's going to make a huge difference. If we can put that trust not only in God, but in Spirit's guidance, we're going to have the answers and we're going to have the guidance and it'll come to us. I know everyone on the in the group tonight would be having some experiences with Spirit and feeling intuitively that we're becoming more open. And as we do that and allow that, that's going to make such a big difference for our future because the more we're thinking in a positive, forgiving, loving way, the more energy is going to work in a most positive manner for us. And we're letting go of the old programming of what we used to think, how we used to feel, what action we would take, how our reactions to things would be. Because I find the trigger system with people, our old programming sneaks through. And even though we may be thinking better at a higher level, our old programming, if we have something surprise us, can draw us into the old program, and our normal reaction would have been the past, not the present. And we're needing to be aware of focusing on the present. That will make such a difference. I find that the world right now has been going through quite a few changes of energy that I've been feeling. And remember, we can have chaos around us, but we can live in harmony in ourselves and our own lives. And we can have that peacefulness there. We don't have to have the disharmony that others choose to be in. I've watched it happen where I'd be sitting calmly and I would see people in a really stressed energy and I would just send them healing. And as I send the energy out, I've had them look at me at times, and I'm sure they're not consciously aware of or why they're looking at me, but they're looking at me because they're obviously feeling something. And I send the energy to them all the time. And it's something there that, like Epson healing, of sending that thought out. You can be near someone, you could be on the other side of the planet, it doesn't matter. Putting out that intent and thought, bringing that harmony is so important. We're needing to look at those things more because I feel there's more people becoming more aware, and in some levels, some of them are becoming more frightened. And there's no need to have the fear energy. And if we can help curve that with our thought and our prayer and our energy we're putting out, it's going to bring balance and bring harmony. How many of you, if you want to raise your hands, those of you that I can see on the screen, uh, how many times have you had dreams recently where some of it's been meaningful to you or a guidance to you? Okay. Yeah, everybody. Now, you've been noticing now there's an increase in your sensitivity to remembering things? Because I keep seeing more increase with everybody and the energies around us. Remember, when some things occur in life that is sort of negative or disruptive, we're needing to be aware of there's the balance energy of what spirit's doing to bring the harmony. And if we're tapping into the harmony, we're going to continue the harmony and have the harmony be there. It's going to continue to work for us. As we utilize our mediumship and meditation, I find that in some forms, when we're dreaming things, it's like a part of our mediumistic ability is really enhanced and worked with more. And as we allow ourselves to trust more and it comes through to us more clearly, that's when I think the dreams are enhanced and the lucid dreaming can be enhanced. I've had it at times where I've had some dreams where I'd wake up and think, did I do that? Did I experience that in the physical world? Is that a memory? Or is that something I'm dreaming right now for the future? And it can be that clear and that powerful. So let's relax and learn that we have these things already at hand. They're not something we're having to reach out for. It's something we already have within us. And we sometimes think of things as being at a distance or that we don't have them in the palm of our hand, let's say. And if we allow the trust to be there and we just put out the thought and let go of it, it's going to come through more clearly for us and it's certainly going to work better. I had an experience with my mother when she passed that I would dream about her and she would come to me in dreams and she'd come in and make a couple comments. There were guidances in future. And when she'd come in the dream, I knew the difference between the dreams that were just sort of the mundane dreaming. And then when she'd come in, there'd be a dream where it'd be very, very clear. And she would only make a short comment. She wouldn't be like a long dissertation, but she'd give me a short comment about certain things in my life. And I recognized that that was the guidance. And it's something that I believe our loved ones on the spirit side of life want to reach out and help us and guide us. And again, we're needing to ask for that guidance. And as we do that, they're going to come through even more. And it will be a stronger energy for us. I find that recently, and I would say recently, meaning the past year or two, I've been seeing people that would not have normally been aware or as opening up and becoming more aware. And it actually frightens some of them a little bit that it's like they're dreaming things or having things come to them in intuitive ways while they're consciously awake. I had one lady make a comment to me. She goes, I don't understand this. She says, I felt nothing before. But she says, all of a sudden, she said, I feel what someone's going to say before they say it. And I stand there and listen to them saying it. And I realize that's exactly what I knew they were going to say. And it's something that we have that veil of trust and openness that once we open the veil and allow it, it's going to come through wonderfully. And we're needing to let that happen and to build that ability. I know a number of people on the screens here that I find an energy with that you're growing and you're changing in what you're feeling. And sometimes in certain ways we try too hard and we're needing to be aware of putting the intent and thought out and then let go of it. Allow it to be there without the intensity of trying to control it consciously. When we have that intensity of trying to control it consciously, we end up frustrated with it because then we're not really feeling like we're getting results. I find some energy around us as we're doing this class tonight that there's an energy around us of trust and allowing ourselves to trust others and go through a transition of the people you feel drawn to and you feel trust with and you feel a bond with that spiritually they're open. And I'm not speaking of it as a religious level, but I'm talking spiritually open where they're intuitively aware and in tune, and that you're intuitively aware and in tune, and that that's opening up more and going further than what you're used to. And I could see some energies around a few people on the screens here. I could see some energy where there's a lot of change going on that I feel we're awakening to the idea that we can't change others We can't make them be different or, let's say, push them to change things for the supposed better. We're needing to let them experience what they need to. And it's very hard to do that when we love them and we care about them and want to reach out and help them change. Every once in a while, I have a dream about someone I know. And I have a friend of mine in Southern Florida that every once in a while we'll talk and he'll say what he felt for me or dreamt about me. And I'll share with him what I felt for him and dreamt about him. And I find it's something that if you can do that with people around you that you have a trust with and sharing with, that's a wonderful energy to share. And it helps build your ability. It helps build your mediumship and also encompasses the healing too. But working with the mediumship is something I find will help you in an immense way. And that's what we're needing to be focused on now is to allow that to occur more. Mhm. Leslie's engineering things here and keeping everything on screen on the computer in order here. And she's been focused on lucid dreaming and she's becoming a little more successful in that. And she's picking up on some things at times that I'm sure she's not always aware of, but it's coming through better. And you're going to have more come through. And I know each of you have had something occur where I would term it a dream state and that you would be then conscious when it's happening. And I find that it's such a subtle energy that if we're doing it forcefully, the subtleness is we just sort of overrun it. And if we allow ourselves to trust that it's going to come through in a way that's going to be more at ease for us and come through in a clarity, that'll help a lot. Now, I don't know how many of you analyze dreams, but I feel there's a lot of times when we dream things. I've had dreams where it would be a mishmash of things that you sometimes wonder what in the world did it mean. It didn't have a storyline. It just had a whole bunch of things in it that was sort of crazy. And I've had that happen myself. And I find with that, please don't think of it. Don't think of it as something that you're having to understand and there's a major message. I feel the practicing of communication through the dreams is something that I feel spirit does. And we may have a mishmash of things that we don't even understand, but it's okay because as long as we've experienced it and leave ourselves open to it, I feel at another level, not always consciously, but another level, we do understand it. We recognize the message and the guidance, but not necessarily will that show up in our conscious mind that we fully understand it. And we're needing to allow ourselves to just go with that. And then other dreams are going to be really important dreams that are going to be symbols of messages or guidance or events. I've had it happen where I had an experience one time that included being astral and traveling astrally, that I had a friend in danger and someone was breaking into the home. And I had an experience of traveling out of the body. But I was in this relaxed state, and I knew in a meditative way that everything was going to be fine. And I didn't even think about it in a sense of thinking about it. It just came through to me in a level of trust and allowing it. I astrally traveled there and saw what was going on and experiencing the person that was trying to get in the home. And they saw me and they were very frightened by that because I was showing up as a white form and they freaked out and ran out of the garage and left. But I look at the energies of that and I think I had dreamt about someone and I had warned them ahead of time that somebody could possibly want to break in the home and for them to be very aware of it. And by having that thought and saying it to them, I had picked up on it in intuitive ways. I had dreamt it that somebody was breaking in the garage door, a man door on the garage. And that's exactly what happened. And we can have dreams that pertain to other people and not necessarily just us. And also in dreams, too, I've had this occur. Some people look at dreams and analyze dreams and they'll say, well, everybody in the dream is you. And I find that that can be true at times as a symbol. Those individuals can be us. But it's also a symbol, too, that I've had it happen where they were strangers or they were people we knew in the dreams, and we recognize their personalities and the attitudes they had and the personality they have. What we know consciously also can be part of the effect and part of the story. And to recognize that is something that we can be helped by it in having those dreams. Now, I'd like to talk about manifesting for a little bit here. When we're dreaming things, we make that choice at a conscious basis to open up to dreams, but we're also needing to be aware of the idea that when we do lucid dreaming, we're literally in control of the dream. Now, I've had it happen where you'd have a dream and the dream was there and occurring. And in a conscious manner, it's almost like consciously stepping in and saying, okay, well, I want to have this outcome now, and I want to have that future. I want to see those things in the future. And we create things because we are creators. But I find it's something that a lot of people, uh, I included, would have a difficult time being able to consciously say, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. That's when I'm going to do it. It's something that we sometimes are not always in touch with that kind of energy. And that's where the trust comes in first, and having things happen where we may not feel we're in control of it. But if we're going to put out the manifestation and say, I'm desiring to have these connections and energies, then it starts to manifest and we'll start really recognizing where it fits in. It's going to be helping us and to allow the trust to be there. Now, if someone would like to, if you want to raise your hand for a question about dreams, not necessarily just a reading for you, but I mean, whatever would be dreams or a question about dreams, feel free in asking. If you want to raise your hand, I'll do that.
First, Jane.
Yes. Hi, Jane.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good, good. Um, I've had numerous ones, but I had one in particular about my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and I dreamed she was standing off by herself, and my mother and I were standing together. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's maybe 6 feet between, or more, 8 feet between us.
Yes.
And I dreamed that she was going to go to a funeral she was going to a funeral by herself.
Yes.
So that really upset me. When I woke up, I thought, oh my gosh, is she going to die? I mean, what's going to happen? Well,
Mm-hmm.
this was on a Friday night, and on that Monday, she was at school, and she got a call that her grandpa on my ex-husband's side had died. And because of the nature of my relationship with my ex-husband, she did indeed go to the funeral by herself with his family.
Yes.
And, I wish I could figure out a way to interpret them better so they don't scare me when something like that happens.
Well, no, this is hard to believe, but I look at it in this form. I don't see any need for fear in any of the circumstances that come through in dreams like that, because I feel a lot of it as symbols. And like that, she went to the funeral on her own and she was perfectly okay. This is where we need to look at our own programming. What programming are we coming from? And I'm sure you've had events in your life that would have been programming that was very hurtful or fearful or upsetting, which leads you then to dream what you're dreaming and then automatically think that could be the worst.
Well, some
Yeah.
things are literal
Mm-hmm.
in the dream, and then some things are just nonsense. It's the opposite of reality.
Well, that's what I feel there. To accept it as the opposite of reality is also accepting the fact that those events will happen and they'll come through in that manner. And some of them make no sense at all. And then some of them make perfect sense.
Right.
But you're needing to let yourself look at it as an observation and not look at it as something that you're automatically reacting to it in a fearful way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it as an observation, you're then going to bring in the true message, and the message is going to be there. Remember, sometimes when we deal with a dream that pertains to death in some form, now it wasn't your daughter, had nothing to do with her passing, but when we dream about death, dying, funerals, that could also be a shift of energy of people changing and a new transition, a new way of life, a new way of thinking, a new way of believing. So it could be that also.
Mhm. Yeah, it's hard to, when it's your children and it's about something like that, it's
Hmm.
hard to be objective,
Right.
right? I'll have to try. So if I put out the thought to, can I ask spirit to make me objective?
Well, put out that thought and have that thought that we're not letting ourselves be fearful. It's almost like saying, no matter what I look at in the dream, look at it as, all right, what does it really mean? Because I find there's a vastness in experiences and understandings of what comes through in a dream. I've had things happen where in the dream, I'll use this example. In a dream I had one time about someone passing over that was a friend of mine, and they were in an automobile accident. They went through a huge transition mentally and emotionally, and they've come out a better person. But
Wow.
I dreamt about it as a death. Well, the death was the old way of thinking and believing, and their shift of energy by them experiencing what they did was a huge shift for the better.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So sometimes it's not a circumstance of looking at it as a fearful thing, but it's something very positive, really.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next.
And that would be Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Greg, and everybody. Good evening. Hope you're well. Excuse me, I have a little cold. There's so much here. I have to pick one question because I don't want to monopolize stuff. So here's where I'm going. Um, Sometimes in dreams, feeling tone is important too. You're talking about the Gestalt. Everybody is you thing, and that's very helpful too. But there's sometimes it's the feeling that you get more than anything else that it seems to be significant. My question is this: I go through a lot of those feeling tones, and a significant number of them have nothing to do with anything personally that I've experienced in conscious life.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts about where that comes from? Is or a good thing to do with it, or does it matter?
Well, let's put it this way. I feel there's many dimensions that we are understanding when we're in that state. When we're dreaming, remember we have the doorway open to many other dimensions besides what would be the consciousness. And I feel you're actually communicating things at another level. And when you're talking about feeling it and you're having this impact of emotion and feeling,
And
that is a
sometimes
whole nother
visual too.
language. I'm
Okay.
sorry?
Sometimes visuals too, environments.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's all right.
I
That's a whole nother vision of things, and whether it's seeing it or feeling it or just even sensing it, it's a very powerful energy because I would term each one of those a symbol of language, communication, and meaningful, very meaningful communication. And it's something that I find at times that I've had dreams where I heard nothing at all in a sense of hearing. All I would be doing is witnessing and in a sense of seeing, and the messages came through in the visions I was having. And that was something very, very powerful. But I also recognize that it's like, to me, music is language, vibration is language. You dream something and you may hear nothing, but yet you're viewing it and it's language. They're giving you a message. And it's something that for you, it is meaningful at another dimension or another level that you may not be consciously connecting to at the moment when you're awake. You may not recognize why it meant that, but yet there's a feeling there, and it's very powerful at times. I feel like you have things come through very, very clear at times.
these things again, not to draw it out, but the funny thing is, as unfamiliar as these things are in waking life, they're very familiar in dreams. The dream will
Exactly.
start, the tone will come up, I go, oh yeah, it's here. It's
Hmm.
this, but it has nothing to do with life. And I've got to believe I'm not the only one.
Well,
It's
think of it
that,
this way: it's you're definitely not the only one. I think everyone has this experience to some degree, but they may not be remembering them. And it's wonderful that you're remembering them because you're tapping in to an energy there that is a real source of healing and helping people, and it's helping you. And when you're having that come through in that form, remember, it's like stepping out of the physical world into a spirit dimension or another dimension. I'm not sure what title to put on it, but another dimension. And there you're at home. You know what's going on. You know what's being said. You know what's being shared. And you know absolutely what the meaning is. No question. But when we come back to the conscious world, we
Yeah,
sometimes lose that connection.
that's exactly how it feels. Hmm.
Hmm. And as we lose the connection, then we're really wondering, and I know at times we could even worry about it at times, like, well, what in the world did that mean? And it's something that we're needing to trust that that other dimension, I feel we function in many levels at the same time. And we're here and we're talking to each other this way, but yet at another level, I believe that we're in other dimensions communicating all the time.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I sometimes meet total strangers, and yet I feel like they're a brother or they're a sister or they're someone I know so well. And I meet them on the earth plane, and I was at Lloydale there, and there was one lady come in, and I finished reading for her, and she goes, Greg, she goes, I don't know how to explain this. She says, but I feel like we know each other so well. And she says, I'm so comfortable being here. And she says, it's just beautiful to get a reading. And she said, the loved ones come through and it's so easy. And she's, I feel like you're part of the family. And it's something that in another dimension, another level, I believe we have communicated a great deal and many times. And that's something that I would say too, you and I have communicated many times, not only in the conscious dimension, but other dimensions also.
Yeah. Thank you.
You have any other question?
Um,
Go ahead.
I can. Okay. Um, it's just an observation that sometimes, and I'm sure this happens to everyone, there'll be something very explicit and very trivial in a dream that materializes
Hmm.
in waking life. And I
Yeah.
find that these things very regularly seem to happen at the end of the sleep cycle. When I
Yes.
wake up, it's that little chunk of stuff, and I'll get the picture, and it's like a made-for-TV, episode, and bam, there it'll be. It'll happen, with the
Hmm.
people, and it's just an observation that I'm sure it has something to do with sleep cycle science, but
Yeah.
in the intuitive world, that's where it is. It's when you wake up. It's that little thing. There it
Yeah.
is.
I've
Thank
had
you.
that happen where you would look at it as somewhat insignificant in some ways, but yet the clarity of it is amazing.
Right. Yeah. And that must be what you were talking about when you say it's like a test signal,
Yes.
because everybody wants these things to have meaning, that they've got to be important somehow. And
Mhm.
sometimes they're just not, except to tell you that it works.
Well, you said it right there. That's really the test signal, let's say, is the fact that it worked and it worked really well and it was very exact and very meaningful in a sense of the event occurring. It happened, but yet it isn't really, quote, a message per se in a sense of guidance or direction. It's just the event occurred and here it is, it happens.
Yeah.
No, I've had that happen a lot in my life, and I've gotten used to the idea of just trusting that it's there, and it's almost like a test signal that the radio stations send out. All right, is it working really well? Yes, it's working well, and to trust it.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
it's things like that can make watching television or some boring conversations really a drag, though, because you're just playing it in your head like milliseconds before it happens.
yep,
Anyway,
exactly.
thank you. Appreciate
I've
it.
I've had it happen in dreams where I dream what someone said, and then during the day, I'm talking to the person in the physical world, and they say exactly what was said. And it's just amazing how it comes through, but it may be, like you're saying, very trivial. There may not be something to it that's powerful. It's just
Yeah,
that it can happen.
yeah,
If they can do that, they can do a lot more.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. God bless.
Okay, Bonnie has her hand up.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Um, my question, I'm getting an echo here. My question is that sometimes things from the day get incorporated into the dream in a certain way, and
Yeah.
it seems as if it's trying to help you decode. But I'm also trying to figure out what symbols mean in your dream landscape.
Well, I'll suggest this as a starting point. Go to a good bookstore where they have dream books and take a few of the dreams you have, 2 or 3 dreams you have already, and look at the book and analyze the dreams according to the book. And which one really clicks with the dreams you're having, that it's something that you know that was so recognizable because you're looking at the dream as being the dream you've already had, therefore the events have occurred, and you can then see where the symbols really fit. And when the symbols really fit, I would suggest getting the book and then present to spirit at home that, all right, here's the language that I'm asking you to use. So now I have a dictionary of what you're sharing with me and what you're telling me. And I've had it happen where I've said to people, put it under your pillow and put that meditative thought out that, all right, here's the language. Please utilize this in this form, and now I'll understand what you're meaning. And it's worked very well. I've had a few people tell me that it was just amazing how many things came through in dreams and they could just look it right up. But it's like allowing them to have the language and the meaning as a standard of knowing what it means. And I've watched Spirit do that many times. And also on the idea too of you having dreams where you're still trying to analyze it, let's say, sometimes analyzing it isn't really the answer because sometimes I get bits and pieces in dreams that are just so scattered that it's like you can't put it together in a sentence even. That make sense?
Yes, it does.
And would you recognize also, you're finding now that, let's say in the past few months, you've really opened up to the idea of different little events occurring during the day that you know what's going to happen before it happens.
Mhm.
You've been having some events like that?
I've been having more where things that happen in the day I use as material for the dreams.
Yes. And I think that'll expand more. And I feel that you at times can be really pretty close with lucid dreaming. There's times you can be what I would term daydreaming, and thoughts would go through your mind, and then those events would happen later.
Well, in these dreams, it was kind of like lucid dreaming because during the dream I was saying to myself, I'm using things that happen during the day.
Yes. And you are utilizing it, and you're creating and manifesting what would be guidance and the answers there too.
I didn't think of that.
Yes, it's coming through clear for you, dear. Remember something, and this is for everyone. We need to realize that times are wanting to consciously control too much. And if we can just open ourselves to the acceptance of what's being given, it's going to work exceptionally well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Right,
Hello,
Marina.
Marina.
Oh, hi, Reverend. Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
Hi.
Reverend, I want to ask you, a long time ago, I used to dream a lot. There was a period in my life when I actually used to dream of a lot of things that would happen.
Yes.
And then the last time when that happened during that period when I was dreaming a lot, the last dream I had, I remember, was that my mother died. I dreamt it twice. I dreamt it one day in one form, like in that dream, I heard she had an accident or something and I knew she had died and I was crying in the dream. And then in the other dream, which was like maybe 2 days later, I also dreamt that she died and I dreamt attending her funeral and all these flowers and not crying, but just knowing that my mother had died. And after I woke up and realized I had just dreamt the same thing 2 days before, but a little differently, I kind of freaked out and I told God, I don't like having this. I don't like dreaming of the future. And then I stopped dreaming of the future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it happens once in a blue moon, but I don't dream anymore. So
well, it's a choice you made, and consciously you put out a very powerful energy there to, in essence, shut down the dreaming And I would suggest the idea that you do reverse. Let's open it back up again and realize that it's a guidance to you. And the death, you know, what happened to your mother?
She's still alive, actually.
Right.
But
So why are we shutting ourselves down then on the wonderful ability you have to dream things? And it could be a guidance, because what I feel the message was with your mother and the death was, I feel she went through a transition and had to change the way she was thinking and doing things, and that she had to really shift what she was doing in her life. And that's what you were dreaming about.
okay. Okay. I mean, I trust that, but I just can't see too much changes in her. But who knows? Maybe she has changed in some ways, and I'm not aware of it.
Your mother can be a handful.
Extremely. Yeah.
And I feel the energy there of you bringing balance to it, of reopening your abilities to dream, and really put out the thought and energy, reversing that thought and process, because you chose to manifest not having it, and it worked. Now let's choose to have it, and it's going to help you even more.
Okay. So even though it was that long ago, it wasn't that for some reason I was more open then? No. Okay. I'll try that.
Yep, put out the energy there.
Thank you, Reverend.
You're welcome. God bless.
You too.
Anyone else? All righty. Well, we're actually at the end of the hour here, and enjoyed having everyone on with me, and it's been a wonderful energy. I hope you get something out of this.
I did. Thank you.
Enjoy it.
All blessings to you. All blessings to Leslie. All blessings to everyone in the
Thank
group.
you.
Everyone.
All blessings and all light and
God
all
bless you
goodness.
guys.
God bless
Greg.
you.
God bless you too. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.